the agents of ICE and the Border Patrol agents, finally, they are actually allowed to do their jobs. Well, yesterday was a day of incredible footage of deportations, apprehensions of criminals who are in this country illegally, and then the processing for the deportation process. This has been going on for the last several days, actually. And the Department of Homeland Security has been bringing members of the media along on embed so they could see exactly what is happening. Cut through all of the lies and all of the crap and all of the people saying, oh, it's children being rounded up and put it in. No, these are hardened criminals, the worst of the worst. And it was very smart of DHS to have media come along for the ride so that they can see exactly what's happening and see with unimpeachable evidence that this is something that needs to get done and is good for the American people. So obviously, MSNBC is very upset about this. Apparently, at MSNBC, Nicole Wallace in particular, her heart breaks and her emotions are fraught right now on behalf of the pedophiles, the rapists, and the murderers. That's how they're presenting it.
As we come on the air, the old saying, elections have consequences, is playing out in very real time in a very real way in cities all across our country as the Trump administration makes good on one of Trump's most controversial campaign promises, a promise that was immortalized in that sea of signs at the Republican National Convention. Mass deportations now. 1 week into Trump's second term, it's no longer an abstract idea or controversial campaign promise or even a convention sign. The deportations are underway. As we come on.
Wow, that is grim. That is like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. The mass deportations are underway. Elections have consequences. This is a nightmare. No, this is justice. This is law and order. This is getting the worst criminal elements that are on the streets, walking in the streets next to you, driving in the car next to you, riding on the subway and mass transit with your children, getting them apprehended and getting them not just off the streets, but out of the country because they've broken our laws and they shouldn't be here. But MSNBC, they're very upset about it. The newly sworn in Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, decided that on her first full day on the job, she was going to suit up and go along with ICE so that the American people could actually see exactly what was at play here. And as cool as it is to see her dressed up like a immigration law enforcement officer, it was even cooler to see her in the truck on the actual apprehension program there. I believe this was in New York City, where Secretary Noem participated in and witnessed firsthand the law enforcement and police doing their job. And she put a post up on X that said, just now, enforcement operation in New York City, criminal alien with kidnapping, assault, and burglary charges now in custody, thanks to ICE. Dirtbags like this will continue to be removed from our streets. And she had an accompanying video where you can see the aforementioned dirtbag in cuffs in Manhattan being led to the federal police car and taken away. And this has all the makings of a special episode of Cops. You know, you can actually hear bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You know, there's a reason why Cops ran for like 20 years on television. In fact, I don't know if you remember this. They took it off of Fox broadcast television in 2020, not because it was unpopular, but because Black Lives Matters didn't like it. They thought that it was racist, that people were watching police officers apprehend bad guys and bring them to justice. See, in the eyes of Black Lives Matter, BLM, that's a bad thing. And by the way, it's racist because whenever I watched the show, it was always some white dude living in a trailer in, Mississippi or Louisiana or, all right, California, Nevada. Actually, a lot of those guys were in Nevada. I don't know. It's so racist. BLM actually is racist when they say you can't show criminals being arrested because that paints black people in a bad light. It's like, who said black people? The majority of these people are white. Doesn't matter. That's why they took it off the air. But there's a reason why it was so popular for a couple of decades and people watched it, because there is an inherent sense of justice that goes along with this. When you see bad people doing bad things, you want the police to show up and do their job. And that's what we've wanted for the last several years with our immigration authorities. And they've been told they're not allowed to do it. This is brilliant from the Trump administration, Secretary Noem, and from border czar Tom Homan to not only do their job, but bring the media along to raise the profile and show the American people that their government is actually doing what you expect them to do. In fact, he even brought Dr. Phil along.
What's your name?
Seda.
Seda what? Do you have a first and last name?
Sam.
Seda Sam?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where are you born?
Thailand.
You've been deported before from the United States?
No.
Never been deported?
But I've been in the system before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been charged with
Charge for
before?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna talk about lawyer.
Yeah. Are you a citizen?
My mom says that.
Your mother's a citizen,
Yes.
but you're not?
Nope.
But you've never been deported before?
You Dr. Phil. You look like Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children. He's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with.
All right. So again, this is brilliant that Homan and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE is doing this, because it puts it right into your living room so you can see exactly what's been going on. You get to see who is protected by these sanctuary city policies. That guy, an illegal alien, never been deported, lived here, what did he say, 20 years, and he's sexually assaulting children, and he still gets to stay in this country and live off of our generosity, right? And you know, all you hear is, well, they just come here for a better life and they just want to make money and be safe. And okay, well, listen, this guy has not come here to have a better life and to work. I guarantee you he's not working, because he recognized Dr. Phil. He's sitting on his mom's sofa eating bonbons, watching daytime television. Otherwise, he wouldn't know who the hell Dr. Phil was. And sanctuary cities are allowing this day. And by the way, the fact that they're able to target people who were specifically arrested in the past for pedophilia, sex crimes against children, and they're walking our streets, it's huge. It's huge to show the American people this. In fact, they took it one step further. They brought in the king of trapping these guys in the act of trying to have sex with children. Chris Hansen did one of these things with ICE as well.
You gave her $50.
Yeah.
What was that for? The $50 was for sexo con chica 15 años.
No quería. No quería. No quería.
Her niece was 15. And you said you wanted a from her and were going to pay her $50. Are you here in this country legally? Do you have U.S. citizenship?
Soy ilegal.
But you came here, Marvin, for sexo con chico 15 años.
No.
You could go back to Honduras.
No, por favor.
Chris Hansen's the host of Takedown with Chris Hansen and the Predators I've Caught with Chris Hansen podcast. I mean, first of all, great Spanish.
Editing is my friend, Jesse. Editing is my friend.
So these people, they show up just like Americans, ready for action.
A week ago tonight in Genesee County, Michigan, Sheriff Chris Swanson's ghost team and I did an investigation. 2 illegal Hondurans showed up in the same night among the other predators. Both had been in this country before, gotten kicked out, sneaked back in, and got arrested in this sting trying to have sex with a child. And I can tell you, in the week that's passed, they've already been picked up by ICE on a detainer, and it's the quickest they've ever seen this happen in the history of Genesee County.
Well,
And that's because there is, in fact, a new sheriff in town. And by highlighting this, first of all, it's feeding the American people's appetite for law and order and justice. It's why we like to watch Cops. So they're giving us real life Cops episodes every single night that are happening at this moment that did not happen under President Biden. And it blows away the mythology that you're hearing elsewhere that these, oh, if we deport these people, if they're deported, who will pick our fruit? Who will clean our hotel bedrooms? Who will mow our lawns? Who will look after our children? Listen, I do love the inherent racism in that argument. It's like the Democrats of the 19th century saying, well, who will pick our cotton if we free these slaves? Come on, guys, you're going to kill our economy. Fine, go ahead with that argument. But also, you and I both know that that's not what's really happening here. This is not about people who are mowing your lawns and picking your fruit. Okay, you want to make an argument for them. How about we agree on this? How about we get rid of the murderers? How about we get rid of these people who are trying to have sex with 15-year-olds? How about we do that? And the fact of the matter is, Democrats right now have twisted themselves into pretzels. They aren't saying anything other than, as you saw from Nicole Wallace, wringing their hands and lamenting the fact that mass deportations are happening. Well, mass deportations of these scumbags are happening, and you seem to be against it. You seem to be against it. And I'm so excited that the Democrats are meeting right now. They're having their Senate and their House caucuses, their conference caucuses, to figure out what their agenda and strategy is going to be for this Congress, for the first year of this Congress at least. And I'm so excited to hear from the Democrats when they finally emerge and they make their statements about these arrests. I can't wait to hear them say this is wrong. I can't wait to hear them say they're on the side of the perps. They're on the side of the illegal aliens who were just caught red-handed trying to have sex with children. Or they have to concede that Trump was right, Homan was right, Biden and Harris were wrong, and you were right. And think about it for a minute. They're having trouble figuring this out. They haven't been able to bring themselves to actually say that yet. There's one other residual wonderful effect from this entire thing, and it's been lost in the shuffle. But with Tom Homan now in charge as the borders are, Kristi Noem as the Secretary of Homeland Security, and Donald Trump as President of the United States, finally, the men and women, but mostly men, who for the last couple of decades have sacrificed and trained and worked their asses off to be members of federal law enforcement charged with enforcing our immigration and customs laws, the agents of ICE and the Border Patrol agents, finally, they are actually allowed to do their jobs. They're allowed to do what they volunteered to do, what they signed up to do, what they trained to do, and what they want to do. Nobody gets into this business for the glamour and for the benefits. They wanted to serve our nation. They wanted to enforce the border. They wanted to enforce our laws. They wanted to protect children who were being trafficked and exploited. And for the last 4 years, they were told, nope, you sit over there and you fill out forms and you process people to make it easier for them to come into this country and break our laws. And now, finally, these guys are allowed to do their job. And one of them appeared on Fox and Friends.
What we're doing is we're targeting the worst first, right? That's who we're getting. We're focusing on those targets. We're not targeting people in schools. We're not targeting people in churches. We're targeting people who are the worst. There's a chance they're going to go to some of those places, and this administration has kind of taken some of the handcuffs off of us in a way, right? Where we're leaving the discretion with our officers, and our officers are trained to make good decisions out there. And we support them. And that's the one thing that we have to realize. These officers now, when we could have arrested somebody at a safe facility, right, a jail or a court lockup with 1 or 2 officers, and now we have to go out into the streets. Now most of our teams are at least 10 agents and officers trying to arrest one individual.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. And I want to reemphasize it. I've mentioned it before. They're happy that they're doing their jobs, but they would prefer to do it in a safe and secure and orderly way. And that's where these sanctuary laws come in. If you live in a state or in a city that does not have sanctuary laws and you fully cooperate with ICE, here's what happens. Your local sheriff or your local police department arrest one of these scumbags. You run the screen on them, find out that they're in the country illegally. You notify ICE. ICE puts a detainer on them. You hold them in jail until this guy or any other member of ICE comes there, 1 or 2 of them. They get apprehended in the jail. The handcuffs are switched from your local handcuffs to the federal handcuffs, and then they're put into a van and they're processed. That's what happens in a normal city and in a normal state. But if you live in one of those places that sanctimoniously declare themselves a sanctuary, and I'm talking about New York State, Illinois, Massachusetts, California, or some of the major cities, even in some of the red states, they don't do that. They don't call ICE. They just let these people out back into the neighborhood so they can continue to wreak havoc. And these poor officers have to go, a big posse of them have to go. It's much more dangerous, not just for themselves, but also for innocent people in the neighborhoods there. But that's because of those sanctuary policies. That's because of, Democrats. You show me one city in this country that has sanctuary policies that is run by a Republican, and I will eat your hat. And I don't have any hats anymore. I actually grew my hair back. So this is a great thing. I love it. I love that ICE is able to do their job. And boy, is it a far cry. You think about how this last administration treated the law enforcement officers who were meant to protect our borders and enforce our immigration laws, specifically the Border Patrol. Think about it. 4 years ago, the major story with the Border Patrol and the Biden administration was Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, and Kamala Harris falsely accusing mounted Border Patrol agents of whipping Haitian illegal immigrants at the border. Biden said that he wanted an investigation. This sort of thing should never happen in this country. Kamala Harris affirmed it all, said this is the kind of thing we've seen back in the 19th century during the slave days. There was no whipping ever. There were no whips ever. Those Border Patrol agents, those brave, heroic Border Patrol agents, mounted Border Patrol agents were doing their jobs. An AP photographer happened to capture a moment where one of the longer straps of the horses was out. And everyone decided, because they're morons who live in a city and they've never been around a horse, decided that was a whip. That's the Biden administration's relationship with Border Patrol and ICE. And now you're seeing play out on your televisions every night with these incredible embed videos. You're seeing the Trump administration's relationship with Border Patrol and ICE. And boy, oh boy, I know which one I prefer. And I know which one the cops prefer. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. Learn right now why gold is a viable diversification tactic, now more than ever, frankly. Birch Gold, the only gold company I endorse, is releasing a brand new booklet, Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era, with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy of this valuable information, along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. The facts are that the national debt continues to increase, and our interest payments on that national debt continues to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. And I love Birch Gold because they help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. That's right, an IRA in gold with money that you already have in an IRA or 401k account. Text Larry to 989898. Get a free copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era. There is no obligation, just information, and I think it's a really good idea for you to do it today. Don't forget my name, Larry, to 989898. Do it today.